judge lah.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Don't Judge lah. And on today's episode, we'll be talking about abortions. And joining us today, we have a very special guest named Fara from FYI KL. And she'll be sharing with us her experiences working in abortion clinics and her thoughts on abortions as well. Yeah, so guys, if you want to find out more about FYI KL, please check out the Instagram. Yeah, guys, there's a lot of amazing things on the Instagram, so do check them out. So, yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy this podcast. By the way, guys, this episode is brought to you by Wonderleaf. Wonderleaf is home to the world's first unisex and stick-on condoms, so do check them out at www.wonderleaf.com and enjoy this podcast, guys. Bye. Because like even all this reproductive health, abortions and everything, it's like, yeah, it's you can talk about it, but different people have different angles on it. So rather than just fixing to what you think you know, it's good to connect with other people and get their opinions and everything.
Yeah, I mean, this is also a conversation, especially in the feminist organizations, because I get where they're coming from. Like a lot of the times we always question like who deserve more rights. Is it, they say like the clump of cells or people who are already alive. So this is quite a hard idea for day-to-day people to absorb, because a lot of them, put emotion, attach the emotion with their, their pregnancy and stuff like that. Some people are not. So I think personally, what I can say is like people have their own right to choose. People have their own idea of how they want to look at things, and it's good that we have a discussion and conversation about it. And but I also understand the how to say the anger towards the people who are always saying like, abortion is murder, blah blah blah. Because then again, you can have the right to proceed with your pregnancy. You can also have the right to terminate the pregnancy.
Yeah.
So if you don't give the same respect to people who continue the pregnancy to the people who want to terminate, it's not an equal conversation that we're having. So that's I think where the frustration stems from.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Because I think a lot of people is like they get distracted by anger. I think anger is the key thing that it's preventing us from really trying to work together to talk about this. Because I feel like when people say they're pro-life or pro-choice, is also because they don't really understand what the person is going through, because they're so caught up with I want to be right, I am right, this is my opinion matters. They don't take the time to really reach out. So for us it's it's actually very hard, right, talking about abortions and stuff, because you're dealing with people's lives. I think that's why it's very sensitive. Like, why is it so hard for people to talk about abortions?
I can tell from my own experience is how abortion is being portrayed in the media. But that's the first time that I saw or heard of abortion, but it's in a very gory way. Like it's an unsafe procedure, that I can say. So that kind of instills fear, and this kind of is a domino effect from one view of abortion, and it continues throughout your life if you're not unlearning and relearning things that is supposed to be learned. So it's gonna continue with you, the stigma. And also, if you don't seek for the knowledge and information, you will always stick with your own opinion, and you don't see different angles and perspectives. So I think because again, sexuality in general is a stigma. It's not just abortion, sexuality in general. So abortion is considered like the lowest of the low in the conversation. So that's why it's really highly stigmatized, and people associate shame with abortion. And it kind of cut across religion, race, or beliefs actually. So unless we continue to inform people, make people aware of what it is actually about, what is abortion, what is safe and unsafe abortion, why is it necessary for abortion to be legal, and things like that. If we don't have that conversation, we'll always stuck with our own opinion, and that opinion might kill someone who needs that really important procedure.
So previously you mentioned that you were working in an abortion clinic, right? What was your experience there like?
One thing that I can say about working in an abortion clinic is it's normal. It's like working at a clinic. So with that being said, we always have to view abortion services as an essential service that is needed for people because different people have different needs, and abortion services is one of the need for people in the reproductive age. It doesn't matter how old you are. It affects people, underage individuals, people who are married. And interestingly enough, a lot of the clients that came were married, and that somehow kind of debunk one of the
Yep.
myths that always going around saying, people who had abortion is always careless. People who are abortion who they are not. They make really bad choices in life and things like that.
So what did your family and friends think when they knew that you were working in an abortion clinic? Were they supportive?
Oh, this actually goes way back, even before I, work in an abortion clinic. It goes way back to my time volunteering as a reproductive health advocate. And at first, of course, like I had a conversation with my mom, and she's like, why are you doing this? Why are you
Yeah.
advocating for this and that? And then I'm just like, do the baby dumping rate in Malaysia is high, teenage pregnancies, blah, blah, blah. And the need to bring about awareness of reproductive health is very crucial. And I feel like that it's really in my bones. Like, I really want to talk about this, and I really need this to be heard by a lot of people. And my father used to be a politician from a conservative party. So it's quite an interesting switch for me to go to, like a very sensitive field, which is reproductive health. And I think because I had the difficult conversation I had when I was in uni and when I was working in an abortion clinic, my mom is already like understood what I'm there for. It's always about, attending to people who are in need, people who have different needs, people who are there are people who got molested, got raped by their own siblings, and I see it in my own eyes, and I feel like if I'm not here, who else is going to be here? The experiences that I have should be seen by a lot more people so that they're more understanding and more
True.
empathetic to others.
I think even for me as a guy, right, I think I can have so many opinions on this. So many opinions on this matter, but for me it's like I would never go through what women have to go through if they're facing abortions and everything because I'm a guy. So it's very easy for me to say, oh yeah, it's so easy. Or like just keep the baby lah. You don't like it's so easy for me. These kind of opinions.
The term pro-choice and pro-life has divided people so
Yes,
much that people don't have this kind of conversation about like why some people go through pregnancy, why people terminate the pregnancies, and everywhere in between got lost.
Yeah.
And also the term that is used in the paper last time was menstrual regulation, which means that you want to get your menses back, you want to get your period back.
Yeah.
So the terms that is used, it's not like directly pengguguran and stuff like that. So
Okay.
and actually you can see when people are raising awareness about abortion, safe abortion specifically, they always use the symbol, the hanger symbol.
Yeah.
Because it was used before for an unsafe procedure, which leads to a lot of maternal death and which a lot of lives that can be saved just by having safe abortion procedures. So with that, I think we always have to think about saving people's lives when it comes to safe abortion. It's not just about when someone is at risk of being dead, and then we can perform abortion. It's also about maintaining their mental and physical health.
Yeah, and also like I think most of girls like all around the world, they part of the reason why they choose to go for an unsafe abortion is because they, especially for Malaysia, they don't really understand the laws on abortion here.
Yeah.
Because I read the other day, it said that abortion is only legal to save a woman's life, and it's allowed to protect a woman's physical and mental health. But in the case of like rape victims or incest, it's not allowed. So it's like really vague. When you say that you're trying to protect a woman's mental health, but if she was like a victim of rape, and if she wants to go through an abortion, and that's not legal.
The penal code that talks about causing an intentional miscarriage, which is ending your pregnancy basically, is under the penal code 312. So basically this law is in place for people to get penalized if they cause any harm to a pregnant individuals. That's basically what it is. But then after several years, I think after independence and stuff like that, I'm going back again, like about how the amendments were made. And in Malaysia, there's a lot of maternal mortality or death during pregnancy occurs in Malaysia. So government take that as an issue, and they amended the legal code, which stated that there's an exception to the provision which says a doctor, a medical practitioner that is registered under the Medical Act can terminate the pregnancy with the consent of the woman in good faith if the doctor sees that there's a need in saving the life of the woman, and also to protect the well-being of the individual in terms of mental and physical health. And end of quote. So that is basically what the law mentioned. So if you see that even in the international lens, it is considered as progressive. It's one of the progressive laws across Asia Pacific or in a global scale. So it says that we only need a doctor, an individual who wants to terminate the pregnancy, and if the pregnancy can cause disturbance in their well-being, be it mental or physical health, they can terminate it. That is how the law should be translated as. The most misinformation that you heard about safe abortion, because abortion, for example, unsafe abortion can lead to death. Unsafe abortion, which is not regulated, which is not safe, it's not hygienic, that's unsafe abortion. But safe abortion, safe abortion in the first trimester is 14 times safer than giving birth.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to repeat that.
Yeah.
Safe abortion in the first trimester is 14 times safer than giving birth. Yeah, so there's a lot of information that you need to acquire to advocate for this. And for example, they say if you had an abortion, your fertility is going to be low. That's wrong. There's even a person who goes through 16 times safe abortion, but this is not, how to say, we don't condone this, but there are people who go through 16 times safe abortion, but they still can get pregnant. So there's a lot of also myths and things like that. And if you don't know the length of length of first trimester abortion surgical procedure, usually if it's only the entire time, it's only the procedure of the doctor removing the clumps in your uterus, only takes around 5 to 10 minutes. Yeah.
I'm just asking this out of curiosity. How does safe abortion work, and is it painful?
Again, I can't speak of other people because I didn't go through abortion myself. But if they can kind of say how it feels like, it's still painful because it's like us getting cramps every month, like a very painful cramps during our periods, and that's how they say somehow how a safe abortion feels like. But we go through that pain, and we have to acknowledge that it is
Yeah.
painful. But yeah, with a lot of different clinics offer different some clinics offer anesthesia, some hospitals actually, some clinics offer some painkillers. So there are procedures in going through the surgical abortion. There are some pills you need to be taking, but that's all the entire time is always under the care of a nurse and a doctor.
But have you heard
Yeah.
people, because I know like some people might say, oh, abortion, if you're doing like safe abortion and everything, what happens if people use it as a contraception? Like, have you heard stories of people just casually? I mean, I'm not trying to like say anything, but I know people will say this. What if somebody use it as a contraception? Because they say it's so safe.
I think this, like, although it's safe, it's costly. So if it's being done in a private clinic, it is costly. So that's one thing. Yeah. So there are people that does that, but a lot of the time the doctor will ask like why. Usually, if the abortion is repeated, the doctor always asks whether you use contraceptive or not, whether the reasons behind it. But sometimes this is also something that needs to be talked about. Sometimes it's about men wanting to see that they are fertile, they can make the woman pregnant, and that's a sad reality. It shouldn't be like that, although it's like safe and things like that. It's always should be under the thought of making the woman safe, making the well-being of the woman or individuals is staying intact, and it's not to prove something by other men or people who are not experiencing that. So that's a conversation that we need to have, because also, like I mentioned about the legal code, which says there's only two person that should be in the conversation of abortion, which is a doctor and the individual. Some doctors ask the individual whether they already consulted the partners. I understand that there are people who view that as a necessity if you're married or if you're not married, but at the end of the day, it's the person or the woman's choice and their own body. So having a procedure or going through pregnancy, it's always need to be their own choice. It needs to be on their own conscience, and it's not other people's choice to make whether or not they go through abortion. Yeah.
How about
So,
okay. Oh, sorry. Just to be clear, for me to be clear as well, how about people who are underage, underage pregnancies, and then they bring their parents to the clinic, and usually the parents will have to sit.
No, the parents bring.
Oh, sorry.
The parents
The
bring them.
parents bring them to the clinic, right? And then usually, would the doctor ask the parent, "Are you okay with this?" And then the parent say, "No, I'm not."
Yeah, do they need consent
Yeah.
from the parents if they're underage?
yes, if it's 18 years old and below, they need consent from their parents or their guardian to go through abortion. For contraception, it's also the same thing. If you would want to have contraceptions or you want to use contraceptions, if you're under 18, you need to have the parental consent. But for contraception, I think some clinics, I'm not sure which, but some clinics uses this term called the Gillick law, where the Gillick competency law, which is having the minor to decide for themselves, but it's only to, I'm not sure if it's certain cases, but I heard of doctors using this Gillick competency law to provide contraception without parental consent. But for safe abortion, it's always needs parental consent. Yeah.
But is there like enough support for people who went through an abortion or for people who are planning to go through an abortion? Is like post-abortion therapy a thing?
It is. It should be a thing. It should really be a thing. I believe, for example, in RAM, they have counselors that go through with you about what you need, before you go to a clinic for abortion. So there's a conversation happening there. But sometimes people also opt for having, therapy. So it's not, how to say, it's not like you have to go through it. It's just sometimes you have to reach out to get to it. So yeah, it is available, and you can access it, but sometimes, I don't know, like people, they don't want to talk about it sometimes also people, they feel like lonely, and they feel like they don't connect with the therapy. So yeah, so there's a different you know people experiencing this. But yeah, the therapy is available post abortion, yeah, post abortion care.
The hardest part is always reaching out, because like going through abortion is already one thing, and imagine like after like seeking help from a therapist, it's like it just adds on to the pressure that you might feel like discriminated or being labeled by people around you. It's so sad.
Yeah.
Correct. And sometimes people just want to talk about their story to other people. So last time when we had an safe abortion exhibition, the contemporary art safe abortion exhibition in 2019, we distributed a Google form which asked people if they're comfortable to share their stories in by typing. So a lot of them actually says that, like, this is really good because this is the first time that I talked to someone, although it's just a Google form, talk to someone about my experience, and it has been so lonely. It's just sometimes you just need a channel to say what you feel, and not people saying anything back, So yeah, we try actually, we wanted to have a platform for people to share their stories, but probably soon. Last time it was just for the art exhibition, but it's actually a good initiative to have a platform for people to tell their stories, because a lot of the times it's really, really lonely.
Abortion clinics is very accessible in cities, right? But I think it's quite hard to find them in like rural areas. So I can imagine like the people who had to go through like thinking of planned pregnancies in rural areas is harder for them, right? Have you ever go to like a kampong, like very far off, and like ask them what you guys go through?
So I think under FRAMS, last time they had a research on contraceptions, but because again, the stigma of abortion and the wide shame that is surrounding the topic, probably that's why they didn't really take up the topic of abortion for FRAM specifically. I'm not sure, but for RAM, they had a research actually last year. So they go through different clinics in different states. So this is actually a research for the health providers on their attitude towards abortion. And of course, a lot of them, they have personal biases. There's always personal biases, and also not understanding the law, and always afraid of providing the service because of that. So yeah, but my experience in working in the abortion clinic, I've heard a lot of different stories from my colleagues, even people who came from Kelantan or Johor, because probably the provisions there, the state provision there is a bit strict. I'm not sure about that, but a lot of them travel from their home to get a hotel for like two days just to perform an abortion in the city. So it is really inaccessible, especially for people who doesn't have the money, for people who are like live far away from the city. So yeah, it is really real.
Do you think our younger generation, do you think we're more open to accepting abortions and talking about it?
Okay, so we actually had a survey that we sent out last month. So we wanted to ask young people, but at the same time we want to see like, okay, if there's any people who are not within the age range that we want, which is youth or adolescents, and we kind of see how to say, like, a lot of people who are the percentage of people who are English speakers or people who opt for the English language, a lot of them empathize with people who had safe abortion or in safe abortion in general. Um, and actually, a higher portion of them are in the 20s, like young, but we can't say specifically if they're actually inclined to support safe abortion or not because it's just a survey, right? It's not a research or anything. But I can say that a lot of the younger generations have more information and are educated about the situation and about the issues. So possibly because of that, they're more inclined to safe abortion. So we had a workshop that we run for the I think actors and actresses for our project. So there are change of attitude or change of perception towards abortion once they have the knowledge or once there are conversation happening about safe abortion because they have to go through a whole day of workshop. So yeah, there is changes and people are saying, oh, I don't know. Before this, I don't know what it's actually about, but in general, they don't support abortion. But at the end of the day, they're like, I understand. So if people comes to me and they need abortion, I would definitely help them. When before the workshop, they didn't say the same thing, So
Yeah.
it's always about, accessibility to education, to information. So this is really rare for people who are not, technically savvy, people who are not online. So how do we reach these people? These are the conversations that we need to have, especially, for the younger generation like us. Like, how do we reach out to them?
Like, what for you then? Before the first day you work in an abortion clinic, right? Did your perception change? Like, what was your perception going in, and then coming out from it?
So it's difficult to say because I've been volunteering for a reproductive health organization for quite some time, and my perception of abortion changes during that time and not change during the time that I work in the safe abortion clinic. But what I can say is more of the reaction of people who gets the abortion and people's behavior when they get go to safe abortion clinic. It's really varied. It's not people who are just sad, and it's not just that. It's some people who knows their rights and they know they can get safe abortion. They're happily married. There are a couple who came. They're like a rock star. They're just like, there's the Malay couple who came. Both of them are like rock stars, and the husband came and wait for the wife, and then they went back after the abortion procedure. And these are the life experiences that I didn't capture when I was attending workshops. I was always thinking about, how it's a very sad moment for a lot of people. But again, it's a variety of people that you're gonna meet, and people go through abortion for different reasons, and different emotions are there. So that's one thing that really changes after that. I'm like, I can be feeling a certain way if I get an abortion, but you can't say the same with other people.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's true. Like, cause I think the moment you hear the word abortion, I mean, even the word itself, abort, people will be like, like, and then especially when you talk about the iron hanger, I think it's already implanted people's mind where they say, oh, you're gonna put something in and then grab it, and then it's gory and everything. And then I guess a lot of people are just not educated about the safer ways, like pills. Like, can you explain like how does the pill work actually?
For the safe abortion pill?
Yeah.
So in Malaysia, actually, this is a very weird thing that safe abortion pill is not available in Malaysia. So it's only surgical procedure. It's because a lot of internal things happening in, I'm not sure which minister or which
Okay.
agency is in charge of this. But basically, if you opt for medical abortion, there will be, I think, pills that you need to take several times, if I'm not mistaken. And you have to, it's called self-managed abortion. So you take it and then you have to manage it, like, how long you bleed after that. Because even if you get abortion, there are times that there's still bleeding going on, like when you're on your period. So there are, these are the times that you need to manage your, if the blood coming out is a lot more than usual, then you have to seek for help after that. So yeah, so that's basically it. Like, I think several days of taking the pills and then manage your, the bleeding coming out and stuff like that. But then again, it's not much available in Malaysia because of licensing problems. Yeah.
I think most of the time when people, like, especially if we're talking about baby dumping and the more serious issues of, a lot of that happens because people are very scared of actually going to the clinic because they know that the backlash that they will get. So do you think that if they were, how's it, more convenient, like we're talking about the over the counter abortion pills, so it's a bit more discreet.
I mean, so there's a lot of recommendations that were made, especially by RAM about, at least, for example, if we're talking about medical abortion, at least allow the medical practitioners or the doctors in Malaysia to prescribe them with a medical abortion, because now even that is not available. You only can get surgical procedure in Malaysia, but then there are some international hotlines that you can call that you can get that the safe abortion pill from RAM's network. But then again, in Malaysia, it's not available. So that has been going on for quite some time. There's always resistance. Like I said, why termination of pregnancy is not widely available in governmental facilities, especially for the people who are not married, people who are sexually active, but not in any wedlock or any form of formal or official marriage. So it's always the attitude of the health professional themselves. Actually, they're the one who can make the changes in the policies that they implement. But one thing is, Ministry of Health has actually, I was doing some reading about this just now. Ministry of Health has been publishing a guideline on how to, it's basically a guideline for health professionals how to deal with young people that comes to the health facilities. So they want to make the clinic more youth friendly, more young people to access the services. But even then, there was in, I think the recommendation was made in 2014. I'm not sure when it was implemented, although that is being done in the Ministry of Health. Teenage pregnancy and baby dumping is still high. Why? Because again, like we can assume that a lot of young people are not accessing these services, and probably the same reasons, because of judgments, biases. Even if you go to the clinic, I really want to try this. If you go to the clinic and you're pregnant, and then the first thing they will ask, why are you having sex out of marriage? And that is not supposed to be the question that you should ask someone who's seeking help.
Yeah.
And these are the attitude and behavioral changes that needs to happen, again, especially in the health professional fraternity. And these are the urgent changes that needs to be done. We can educate the younger generation, yes, absolutely, but educate the younger medical professional, educate the young doctors, the young nurses to not have these kind of perceptions, so that people come to you, in what do you call that? with the confidence
Yeah.
with the confidence of getting good health services, and these are supposed to be their priority and not
Yeah. Like what you say is true. I think for us, it's also not just the educating the healthcare people, but it's also educating our leaders, educating our politicians, because at the end of the day, they are the one passing the law. So if they are not
correct.
educated enough or aware, of course they're gonna be. And then you're like, I think it's safe to say lah, like our politics can be quite conservative, in a sense. Like no matter how much the opposition or the government try to be liberal, they will always be very scared, because they say, oh, I want people to vote for me, so I have to go back on
Yeah.
this. And it's very sad, because yeah, they are passing the laws. And I mean, honestly, right, the sad thing about this is that we can talk about this, we can educate a lot of people, but if our leaders are not educated, if our leaders are not willing to have an open mind, I think for me it's very hard for us to move forward, because it is working together. We have to work together
Correct.
with our leaders, and our leaders have to work together with us to understand. Because at the end of the day, I'm wondering how many of our politicians actually step into an abortion clinic before, and actually go through a
True.
day in a life and seeing what's going on.
True.
I mean, or even just regular people. I think for me, like I never stepped into it. I never been there before. So for me, obviously, like maybe some of my views might be skewed as well. But I think it's very important that leaders have to be educated, because I think most of the time when we're having this conversation, we're talking about the normal people, educating the normal people, educating the youth. But our leaders are so far away from, they're like in their own bubble. So it's actually very sad. Yeah.
Sometimes it's all about reputation and saving face.
Yeah. But
Yeah, that's
find
true,
it's-
and also because of their personal biases as well. Because now, I can truly say, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if people are listening to this and the politicians, you can come at me. But there's none.
Come at me, bro.
There's none. Yeah, there's none of Malaysian politicians that I look up to that actually advocates for reproductive rights and health. None. Even if you see the progressive ones, they're not. They have their own self biases when it comes to safe abortion. They have, of course, they have their own beliefs and things like that. But it doesn't change if you continue the policies that suppress people from getting the essential services. It doesn't make you a lesser Muslim, a lesser Christian. It makes you a better person, just taking care of other people who might not have the same needs as you have.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
politicians out there.
And it's very sad, because I think a lot to do with, correct me if I'm wrong also lah, but I think a lot to do with abortion is because people are not educated on safe sex as well, proper contraceptions like wearing condoms, because it's such a taboo. And then if you realize, right, I think even our podcast, our sexual health series, it's all related. Talk about period poverty.
Right.
We're talking about sex education in Malaysia, abortion. It's all related, and it boils down to education. It boils down to I think
Sex education.
yeah, our government, they're not really pushing for all this, and it's affecting our lives. Honestly, that's why we feel like if it is a link where, okay, if maybe if people are more open to practicing safe sex, maybe they might not even have to go through. I'm talking about people who are not married lah, who are having unplanned pregnancies. Maybe they don't have to go through that trauma in a sense. So if they can prevent it, then they won't have to go through it. That's why I feel it's very sad.
Yeah. Yeah. It boils down to, again, political will for you to make sure that actually people get these essential services in government health facilities. But so far there's none of them, even about contraception, even about conversation about unintended pregnancies. A lot of the progressive ones also didn't address these issues because of their beliefs. But it's sad. So now, like, I don't have anyone to look up to in Malaysia.
Yeah, I mean, because I also feel like it's maybe there are politicians who are very like, oh, I want to push for this, but honestly, deep down they know that if I push for this, right, I'm risking my whole political career. It's just gonna end my
I
career.
think the only party that actually stands for people's justice is Parti Sosialis Malaya. So PSM has always talked about, LGBT rights, about sexual reproductive health and rights and stuff like that. But then again, like, the people in their party is not as much as or as influential as others.
Yeah, okay, so let's say if you were the government of the day, but you also know that not all your citizens will accept your views. How will you approach it? Because if you want to do something good for your country, you have to work around it to kind of please the people who are opposing you as well, right? So how would you approach it? Because I honestly feel like if sometimes I feel like if we're too liberal, we're actually pushing a lot more people away. If you get what I'm trying to say.
I understand.
Yeah.
I think one of the approaches that probably the littlest details, actually changing the posters on, asking people to go to these services, not by fear mongering. It's by empathy, by welcoming them to the facilities. And these are the small changes that can be made now, not just when I'm the prime minister.
Yeah.
This can be changed now. You have to have desensitization training for all the people who are in the Ministry of Health. Having this workshop or trainings, provide them with the space for them to discuss and talk about their worries or their biases and things like that. They don't have this space now. And I think with having these small changes, it can help with having the influence in changing the bigger policies, because now Ministry of Health has the policy of wanting to serve young people who are not married, young people who are pregnant and out of wedlock. They want to serve them. There is already a guideline, but why is it not working? It's because of this behavioral or attitude towards the issue of reproductive health. There's still judgments, so there are possible changes, and then that can affect a bigger ones. Yeah. But also I believe there are several, not relating to safe abortion, it's about reproductive health, about having the Gender Equality Act. By having that law enacted in our constitution, it can help with different legal problems that might happen in the future, so that it can be used so that if women and girls are facing certain problems, they can use the law to protect themselves, to maybe get services or any other thing that relates to gender injustices.
Have you guys received any ridicule from other people on what you're doing?
I'm not sure, because of the algorithms of the social media and because of our target population. A lot of them, we get a lot of people who supports the advocacy. So that's a good thing, but also a bad thing from our side, because I feel like if we're not reaching the right people, we are just reaching people who are in our circle. We hope to have more. It's not that we hope to have more backlash, but we hope to have more audience that doesn't have the same opinion with us, because we want to have the conversation. And we hope to have that conversation soon. But so far, under FYI KL platform, there are people who commented saying abortion is murder and things like that, but we don't escalate this conversation. Usually we just say that have you done the survey yet? But if you have, thank you so much, and that's it. Because our point is, at that time the post was about the survey, so we talk about the survey. When it comes to talking about the certain issues, we talk about that issues.
I guess for us also, right, when talking about this, I guess we do put a pressure on ourselves, saying that we want to change everybody. But I think that's very that's very. But I mean, like, I think for us going to this podcast as well, we're like, we want to change the world and everything. We want like people to. then because I think me and Steph, we were talking about this and realized that we really cannot please everybody. And then like, let's say if you are engaging these kind of people, their views are already distorted. All you can do is say, okay, educate me. Why do you think educate me on your opinions? rather than say, come at me, bro, fight me, my penis.
We had our
Ask-
first comment on Instagram,
Yeah.
and we were in the WhatsApp group. And we were like,
We were like,
we got this comment. How we gonna reply?
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think at first we were like, oh no, what? Oh, we're getting ridiculed. But after that, then we realized that okay, it's good. At least they're engaging
Yeah.
us. At least they are looking
Yeah.
at our posts and everything. And then
Yes, correct.
rather than us saying that, oh, you're just bad, you're just biased, bigoted, and everything. Just say, okay, educate me on your views. I think that's a good word to use. Like I think to summarize what we've been talking is that here there are steps for safe abortions, and I think before you get scared to dive into it, read about it or like listen or try to understand. And also like if let's say if you are pro-life, have a conversation with us or have a conversation with other people. Try to learn more, and okay, and let's say if that doesn't change your opinion, then respect what other people are gonna do.
You have to know that everyone's going through different things in life.
Mm.
The main thing is to, even if you can't relate, try to empathize and just be respectful of people's decisions.
Yeah, like
Right.
you don't have to feel pressured to change your opinion. Just
Yeah.
understand.
It's,
Understand other
Yeah,
people.
that's true. And again, the things that my friend Tensi always mention about, and also other people who are around me, they always say that when you deliver a certain message, your goal or aim is not to change people's opinion. It's just to make people start to think.
Yeah.
When they start to
Yes.
think, they are having a conversation with themselves, and they're having a conversation with their own biases. Once you start the conversation, it's always up to them to seek more information, or they want to stop there. But your job is always to create that point of discussion and not to change anything.
Okay, guys, we come to the end of this episode, and yeah, we really hope that you enjoy this episode, and do let us know your thoughts on what you think on this subject on our YouTube and also our Instagram, guys. Follow us, and yeah, catch us on another episode of Don't Judge Lah. This episode is brought to you by Wonderleaf. Wonderleaf is home to the world's first unisex and stick-on condoms, so do check them out at www.wonderleaf.com. And guys, see you for another episode of Don't Judge Lah. Bye.